30 years of Christopher Jericho. I mean, that is a long ass time. And within those years, my word, Chris Jericho has met a lot of people. I mean, some of the tributes that he got on this episode of AEW Dynamite, I mean, Slash was there, Lars Ulrich was there, Shaquille O'Neal. It was a who's who, but I know that it wouldn't be complete if Chris Jericho didn't get one from me. Roll it. Hi Chris, Simon Miller here, and I just want to say it's quite incredible that you have been professional wrestling for 30 years. That is 3 decades. I still think you've had one of the best WWE debuts in history. I remember watching you back in WCW when you were being a right goofball. I mean that in a positive way, and it kind of taught me as a young child, hey, it's pretty good not to take yourself too seriously. You can have a lot of fun, but more importantly than all of that, I want to thank you for that time. I was sitting front row at a WWE house show event, and I was booing you because you were the bad guy, and you turned and you looked me right in the eye and you said, "Shut up, you bald idiot." I then laughed because it's funny and it made me laugh, and then you got even more irate and talked about my hair for around about 2 minutes. But don't worry about that, Chris, I'm over it. It doesn't matter. I didn't do this to myself. It was Mother Nature. Congratulations on 30 years. I'm sure I've just made his day. But thank you everyone for joining me. My name is Simon Miller, and it's time to take the finger of power and give the good bits an up and the bad bits a down for another episode of All Elite Wrestling's premiere weekly show. One bit has already got people so mad, but we're going to talk about it. Let's up those downs. So yeah, the first thing we saw was a video for Chris Jericho, but here it was just the AEW guys, and again, later on it'd just be famous person, famous person, famous person. I actually thought this did a really good job in reminding you that Jericho has been smashing it for a crazy amount of time, and fair play to that guy. And in contrast to that, our first match was Will Hobbs taking on Brian Cage, two guys who are trying to make a name for themselves. I know Brian Cage has been around for ages, but AEW is certainly the biggest platform he's been on to date, so he wants everybody to look at him and go, oh my gosh, isn't he wonderful? And I do think that every time I see him, look at his delts. The FTW title is also on the line. I still kind of find that belt a little bit strange, but if you sometimes watch Dynamite and think to yourself, man, I just want to see 2 slabs of meat go at it, well, you got 2 slabs of meat going at it, and because I like meat, is getting up. And that's exactly what this was. Commentary went a little bit too overboard by reminding you every single second it wasn't going to be a technical classic, like every single wrestling match has to be that, and this really was a showcase for Hobbs, because he's coming into his own, he's finding his feet, but I thought he did a tremendous job. Cage still threw him around here and there, because, you know, Brian is absolutely massive as well, and I just thought this felt like a little bit something different on Dynamite, and variety is key to life. The best part was towards the end when Hobbs hit his spine buster and got a really close near fall. But then, what the hell were you thinking, Willie? Out of ideas, he climbed to the top rope, he went for a splash. He shouldn't be doing stuff like that. He missed Brian Cage at the drill claw, which looked pretty cool, and he got the 1, 2, 3 and the victory. Cage also did a standing moonsault at one point, and again, I know he's done that a lot, but sometimes we don't give credit where it's due, so I'm giving the credit. Also, I started laughing halfway through this because I realized it was Brian versus William, like 2 kids at private school. I'm a moron. Hobbs clearly impressed Team Taz too, because they were all out here afterwards and they offered him a spot in the group, although it wasn't the best decision this guy could ever make, because it was either, hey, you can be part of us or we're gonna whoop your ass. Thankfully, Darby Allin then turned up and he chased everyone away with his skateboard, and I think there may be some twists and turns here. It's quite an interesting story. Taz also lost it and said that soon Alan is going to learn why you don't mess with Team Taz. And you better do something now, Taz, otherwise I'm going to think you're a damn liar. And yet another video package here for Jericho, and again it was just person, name. And then we cut to a Lance Archer promo where he genuinely made you think that next week on Dynamite he will kill Jon Moxley and win the AEW World title. Somebody call the police. Archer recalled their Texas death match they had in New Japan, and yes, there were a bunch of NJPW references on this show, so maybe something's going to happen there after the New Japan change of management. I don't know, I'm just a bald asshole. And yeah, Lance Archer is just all kinds of crazy. Maybe he will win the title and then grab Jon Moxley and chuck him through the ceiling. because that's just what he likes to do. It was our weekly dose of AEW tag team title action next as FTR was taking on Angelico and Jack Evans, and it was actually quite nice to see those two. I haven't seen them properly on Dynamite in a while. I was giving them a wave from my sofa and then realised it's a television, they can't see you. The absolute highlight of the whole thing though is then we cut to the back and we saw the Young Bucks watching this, and Matt Jackson was honestly looking at the screen like this. It was a clear shot of WWE when people are always watching television sets at odd angles. I was laughing. This is the kind of insider references I enjoy. And in terms of the match, well, I will say it was a little bit different. Kind of like if you sat down for a meal and you ordered cheese and a milkshake and then just shoved them all in your mouth. So it was just two unique teams trying to mesh their style, and all the guys are super duper good. But I don't know, man, I watched this and something just didn't connect for me. That's probably just a personal thing. You may have loved it, good for you. I'm giving it a down. It was also more nonsense as the referee was distracted by Tully Blanchard, but this week, the official was Aubrey Edwards, so what the hell is going on here? I need something injected into my storybook so I can understand this, because at the moment, all the referees look like dinguses. I mean, Tully Blanchard just goes, look at me, and they look over like, oh, Tully, he's such a fool, and then FTR take over. FTR, of course, grounded Jack Evans as much as they could until Angelico got in there, and he was flying around until he missed a dive and got slammed on the apron, and if you don't know, that's the hardest part of the ring. And in a nod, maybe to both the past and a to the flippy dudes, FTR finished this off by Dax giving Jack Evans a superplex, and then Cash came off the top rope with a splash. I mean, we've seen them do it in the past. We haven't really seen them do it in Dynamite. And they got the 1, 2, 3. They held on to their belts. This sent the Bucks off the wall as they couldn't believe it. So they super kicked the cameraman. So that's more money they owe to Tony Khan. And then back out at the ringside area, out came the best friends. And yes, they had t-shirts of FTR dressed as weenies. Some people said this was stupid. Some people thought it was funny. I was somewhere in the middle. It wasn't a big deal. You don't need to overly focus on it. Either way, next week they are going to get their tag team titles shot because Tony Khan has said that's what he wants to go down. FTR were like, oh no. And I will say this, I'm intrigued to see what happens there because you can't take the championship on FTR now, I don't think. Maybe the Young Bucks get involved. But yeah, all of this was fine. Just something not working for me. I will get back to my research station and figure it out. But I am still pumped for the tag team division. I don't want anything to be misconstrued. I'm just maybe not as pumped as I was a month ago. So it's like when you get a quad pump, right? But a quad pump is not as good as a bicep pump, which, by the way, very nicely, is also the name of my new tag team, Bicep Pump. It's just me at the moment. So I just want to let you know I am recruiting for a tag team partner. More love for Jericho as well, although I want to point out here MJF was also saying words, and that was going to tie in to the closing angle for the show. So just so you're aware. Somewhat surprisingly, the dog collar match for the TNT Championship was next, and I went, I didn't see that coming, because I thought it would be the main event even with 30 years of Jericho. Either way, who gives a shib? This was absolutely terrific. Round of applause and it up. Greg Valentine was shown in the crowd, which was a really nice touch because he was probably part of the most famous dog collar match in history. And then Brodie Lee and Cody. If you wanted to believe that these two actually hated each other, just sit down and watch this. I mean, they were punching each other in the face with steel. They were doing a bunch of crazy moves on the outside, including a package pile driver off the apron through a table, and that basically destroyed both guys. And I made so many sound effects during this, I probably sounded like a video game. I still can't believe this happened on free TV, and there was a bunch of shenanigans too, like Long John Silver was out there, and Cody punched him so hard in the head with the chain, he started busting open, so Anna Jay had to come and revive him. And then later on, Alex Ryan Reynolds was also trying to get involved, but he got annihilated too. The whole point of this was to remind you, yes, they're wearing a dog collar, and it may look a bit silly, but this is metal, and metal really hurts. And now officially, next time I see somebody walking their dog, I'm gonna be like, oh my word, I don't wanna get near that. Reynolds also got spine busted by Arn Anderson, which was the greatest thing of all time because that spine buster is legendary. I just want to implore you to go and watch this with your eyes. Can't even remember if I said this, it's on free television. This shouldn't have been on free TV, it should have been on a pay-per-view, and we all should have paid $750. That's a wild exaggeration. The whole thing just felt unsafe in the way that it was meant to feel unsafe, and I was completely plugged into this, especially when Cody hit Crossroads and Brodie Lee kicked out at 1. Now, I have been somewhat critical of people kicking out finishes in the past, but this was the way to do it. He just looked like a man possessed and make you go, well, who's clearly some crazy dude in charge of a cult. he is. And then we do get to the finish, which has created some controversy online because after Cody had just wailed on Lee in the face with that damn chain, he hit him with another crossroads and he got the 1, 2, 3 to, yes, once again become your TNT title champion man dude guy. And again, yes, this sent the internet into meltdown, but I think we have forgotten the point of wrestling. Because let's go through the story. Cody was murdered on television, right, by Brodie Lee, a bad person that is trying to get his evil group to take over the world. He then had to rest at home and get back to 100%. He then agreed to a terrifying match, which he should never have overcome the odds in, but then he did, meaning the good guy got his revenge. He made us feel all really good inside, and yeah, that's what sports entertainment is. You're supposed to be beaten down, and then because you're the hero, you get back up to the top and you win a medal. In this case, TNT title, I am 100% behind it. To be honest, it doesn't happen enough. So it was good. Joyful, happy party time. To underline that as well, man, the promo that Cody cut afterwards. He addressed all these rumors that people think that he's going to take a dark path and turn on the fans, but he's not going to do that because pro wrestling is his life work. He's not pandering to anyone. It's just what he believes and he wants to give back as much as he can. Even if he is lying to us, it's just going to make any kind of heel turn even better. And if he's not, he is now just the greatest good guy ever. Once again, go and watch this if you want to see passion coming out of your ears. And in a very rare occurrence, just this little segment that only lasted about 2 minutes is getting it up. And then we still weren't done because with his final few breaths, not that he died or anything, he was just worn out, Cody said that he wanted to get back to defending his TNT title every single week. Out came Orange Cassidy. They gave each other the thumbs up. Why the hell that piece of fruit deserves another attempt at the title, I don't know, but I don't care because this gave me all the energy in the world like the Duracell bunny. Right back at ya. The stories then kept on coming because Wardlow, Colt Cabana, and if you can believe it, Hangman Adam Page were added to the AEW World Title #1 Contenders Tournament. And if you haven't been on Adam Page's Twitter today, please do go and do it and read his statement. It is very good. This also has to end. Surely the finals has to be Kenny Omega versus Adam Page because that narrative has already written itself. And we double down on that here because Kenny Omega got interviewed straight afterwards and he was basically like, I don't care that Hangman Adam Page is in it. He's a tag team wrestler. Have I told you that Adam Page means nothing to me? He's nothing but, nobody can touch me. I mean, who even is Hangman Adam Page? Hangman Adam Page, crap. Rubbish. I mean, talk about protesting too much, but it was great. Big Swole versus Serena Deeb was next, and I actually felt quite sorry for these two because what a crappy position to be put in. The fans were spent and the wrestlers at ringside were spent because they'd just seen that dog collar match. But what a nice professional wrestling match they had. I just thought it flowed and clicked really nicely and was a great chance to put Big Swole over even more than she already is because she's still learning the ropes and getting better, whereas Serena Deeb is like a veteran and she's got all these cool sort of like transitional moves. Honestly, this went for around about 8 to 10 minutes and I liked every single second. I'm not joking. Swole also hit the rolling elbow for the win, 1, 2, 3, and the commentators put that over like it was a massive victory, so that made me get behind Swole even more. My only criticism, as you already know, is that Shida, the AEW Women's Champion, was once again nowhere to be seen. Can't she just be in videos like Jon Moxley was? We'll talk about that in 1 second. Just remind us that she's there, and please, for the love of everything, give her a program. And then, yeah, talking about Jon Moxley, he was sat in a bar cutting his own promo, and this could be the greatest thing ever. Again, I'm just overselling that massively, but the way he talks, I believed every word he said, and it kind of made me go away thinking, John's right, he's gonna die. He thinks Lance Archer's going to kill him, but also he doesn't care. Somebody please save him. He's also not going to celebrate the fact that Dynamite is 1 year old because he's got to focus on his championship match and it's going to be a flip of a coin or a toss of a coin about who wins. He then used Lance Archer's own catchphrase, everybody dies, and it may have been the most emotive thing I have seen in 2020. Jon Moxley kicks ass. Yet even more messages from seemingly everybody on the planet praising Chris Jericho, and by the time this night was done, I now think he is the biggest star in the world, so they did that well. And then our main event, of course, was Le Champion teaming with Jake Hager to take on Serpentico and Dr. Luther, and it was just a fine tag team match. And it actually looked like Jericho was going to lose at one point because he was having his ass absolutely whipped, and it got doubly bad when Sammy Guevara went to throw Floyd the baseball bat to his leader, absolutely missed, Dr. Luther got it, he clocked Chris Jericho, but thankfully he was able to get out of this, probably because he's been studying his old wrestling tapes, specifically Survivor Series 1998. Because you remember what happened there, right? The big boss man, he went to throw the nightstick, The Rock grabbed it, and he won his match. And some people are saying, oh, Dr. Luther, the greatest wrestling catch in history. Man, The Rock's was 22 times better. Realizing that he may be about to be defeated, Jericho then busted out the Judas effect on Luther and got the 1-2-3. And if you want to describe this as him escaping by the skin of his teeth, ain't no one going to argue with you. Jericho was also going to cut a promo afterwards, probably saying, wahoo, hey, I'm 30 years old in wrestling, not literally, that wouldn't make any sense, when he was interrupted by MJF and Wardlow, who this week had two very interesting presents to celebrate his 3 decades in the business. The first was Clownico the Clown, which was just a dude in a clown. I don't think you're allowed to give people his presents, but whatever. And the second, as yet another callback to what The Rock did when he was in the Nation of Domination, was giving Jericho a framed picture of himself. That's right, it was Maxwell in all of his glory. And I want to say that I mentioned that last week, but I did mention that last week. Jericho was super pissed about this as he hated clowns, so not only did he smash the framed picture over the poor clown's head, but he also gave him the Judas effect, and it was the most aggressive Judas effect I have ever seen. Because I'm a bad person, I started to laugh. It was then teased that MJF and Jericho were about to fall out, but then they started laughing too, and as it turns out, it was just a lot of fun all round, and the locker room empty, and everybody was celebrating Chris Jericho. We had some end credits like it was Saturday Night Live, and every single one was Chris Jericho, and that was also funny. What a really, really good way to end AEW Dynamite. But this honestly was really, really good, especially if the tease is headed in the direction that we want it to, because MJF needs to infiltrate the inner circle, and he needs to screw over Chris Jericho, kick him out of the faction before Chris Jericho finally becomes the good guy he basically already is. You can even justify it from Sammy's point of view, because 1, who threw the baseball bat and screwed up? That's right, it was Sammy. And 2, why isn't Jericho teaming with Guevara anymore? Why has he decided to pair up with Jake Hagar instead? It's those little things that in the grand scheme of things can become massive, and I am very excited to see where it's going to go. So yes, we are now 1 year into AEW Dynamite. It is gonna get an up, which means it hasn't got a down once. I know that makes some people so mad, they're like, oh, you're so biased. I'm not biased, I just enjoy wrestling. That's it. I think Raw's great, I think SmackDown's great, I think Ring of Honor is great, I think Impact great. I just think wrestling is great, and you know what? Wrestling in general is getting an up. There's nothing visual for that. I just decided to do it. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about AEW Dynamite. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com where you can read articles about the damn show. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter to stay up to date at WhatCulture WWE and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. It's good for what else, yeah? My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Make sure you join me tomorrow at 2 p.m. BST because you voted in the highest rated ever SmackDown for retro ups and downs. Stone Cold Steve Austin about to blow up the DX bus. See you then.